you wanna be my friend? It's Lily's friend project. She asked people to apply to be her friend. And then she interviewed them. And when she interviewed them, she saw New York City's a big, big place. Have you got a shot with the human race? Is loneliness what we've all come to expect? From Midwood, Queens to 150th Street, it's Lily's Friend Project.
Hi, I'm Lily, and this is the Lily Friend Project, the show where I had people apply to be my friend, and then I interviewed them to make friends. Today's episode is about invisibility. What happens when we feel unseen in our friendships? Not in a cool superhero way where you get to steal stuff and spy on people, but in that quiet, uncomfortable way where you're giving a lot, but not sure if anyone notices. When I put up those flyers to see if people would apply to be my friend around New York, I was looking for something specific, friendship without pretense. And somehow, I found people who embodied that idea in ways I didn't expect. Let me tell you about Sam Singh. The first thing I noticed when Sam walked in was this intentionality. Like every movement had been plotted out in advance. They sat down and immediately cut through all the small talk I'd prepared. Sam looked me straight in the eyes, straight in, with this unnerving honesty that made me feel like I was being gently interrogated.
I'm feeling good. I'll be frank. I am primarily here out of curiosity. I've never seen anything like the questionnaire.
Really? What do you mean by that?
You didn't ask any demographic information. Not my age, not my gender, none of that. What you offered in the flyer was friendship without pretenses, and you actually followed through with that. You you asked very specific things about my personality and don't know any specific demographic facts about me. So I was curious, and here I am.
The eye contact was so strong and direct. Sam has this way of looking at you like they're cataloging your entire being. 22 years old with a crazy deep vocabulary. At one point, they casually used numismatics in a sentence, a word I had to look up later. It means the study of coins and currency. Sam was surprisingly open about their family. Their father's a psychiatrist, their mother's a therapist, and they grew up speaking their family language of psychology.
For one, my father's a psychiatrist, my mother's a therapist, LCSW, so I grew up talking shop with them and all.
Sam has this whole other life being a regular at a karaoke club. Actually, not a club, but a regular gathering at their favorite spot. It seems I found a secret karaoke master hiding behind all that psychological analysis.
The second we walk in, I go right to the list. I write down the Wolf in Sheep's Clothing by Offspring. This very edgy, angry punk song. I immediately find out that most of the audience is two bachelorette parties, and
Yeah.
I'm very worried I'm about to kill the positive vibe, and then someone gets up there and very poorly sings Will Ferrell's "Ya Ya Ding Dong" from the Eurovision movie, and does and after that, I'm not worried about I'm the least of these people's worries.
You were bringing the vibes up. That's
and
so
then
funny.
and then I flopped anyways.
In stark contrast to Sam was Siegfried, or Siggy, as he prefers to be called. When Siggy walked in, the nervous energy was almost visible, like cartoon anxiety lines radiating off his body. Within the first few minutes, he even straight up told me he was worried this whole thing was an elaborate prank.
I'm more concerned about like an Eric Andre show type thing. Something that would make me look really bad. But yeah.
That's not my intention. How are you feeling today?
A little anxious about responding to an ad and finding out what it is or isn't.
There was something so vulnerable about Siggy being there. Here's this 34-year-old startup founder, a guy who runs his own company, is married to an opera singer, has lived in Israel, San Francisco, and now New York, sitting in a borrowed therapist's office, fidgeting with his hands, openly admitting how hard it is to make friends as an adult man.
I responded to the ad because it's something I like talk about with my partner a lot, about how hard it is to make friends as a male.
Yeah.
And, like, I think... And my partner, she also travels a lot for work, so she's just like kind of gone for a couple months, and so I spending a lot of time alone as like a man in his mid-30s, I guess, like with no kids. I'm like aware of how difficult it is to make friends. I think maybe the stigma is a little bit like, I think by the time you're in your late 20s, like you should have accumulated friends, right? And you probably have. I don't know. You kind of don't want to admit that like you're like 34 and kind of lonely. You know, it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 26 and I feel lonely a lot, and I feel like everyone's like always like, my friend's this. I have so many friends. I don't know. It's weird.
As I spoke with Siggy, I was struck by how much he was sharing. This wasn't easy for him. You could feel the effort it took for him to open up. He talked about feeling isolated at his startup, about his wife being on tour, about growing up with financial worry. Each revelation felt like he was carefully placing a fragile object on the table between us, worried it might break if handled too roughly.
I think there just isn't that much time either, right? Like you don't see people that frequently, so you don't necessarily have all that unintentional sort of time that just brings you to a certain level of comfort with someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think New York too, it's sort of like where is everyone? What's everyone doing? Like, it's so hard to make a plan. It's weird.
Well, I also think New York attracts a lot of people who, as they become more successful, they're like outside of New York a lot, right? People who travel for work, artists, like creatives especially, are like always gone.
When I asked Siggy about his wife, Siggy's face lit up, this rare moment when the anxiety disappeared completely.
What does your wife do?
She's a singer, an opera singer.
That is so cool.
Yeah, and I have other friends who like our music too, so it's kind of funny. They're always gone. I'm a techie, and so my company is remote. We have like 2 people here, but like I'm preoccupied with like a virtual office, you know, or like my co-founders who are in LA.
We had somehow gotten into a whole conversation about Jeffrey Epstein's death. Siggy kept explaining complex conspiracy theories and then catching himself, like he was worried about sounding too weird. It was endearing, watching him navigate between openness and self-consciousness.
It's okay to be dependent on people, I think.
Yeah, it is. In a lot of ways it is, but it's
I used to think it wasn't.
What? Oh, really?
Yeah. I think when you're like a young person, you sort of develop so much pride about things that are really defense against. It's like a way to like arm yourself against things that are bad, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's amazing that I like am so self-sufficient. Like, who cares if my parents can help me or whatever else? I don't need anybody. Like, isn't that like amazing? But then it's sort of like, is that amazing? Like, wouldn't it be nice if you just were surrounded by people who like to help you and vice versa?
What struck me about both Sam and Siggy was this weird paradox. Sam was giving the impression of total openness while maintaining this intense emotional control. Siggy seemed nervous and guarded, but was surprisingly revealing in his answers. Both of them were playing these complex roles in their friendships: the caretaker, the reliable one, the emotional processor. And both seemed to be struggling with the question, how do you let yourself be seen when you're so used to seeing others?
I'd say primarily I've learned that longing and fondness are not necessarily the same thing. I've learned that I know what I owe to others and what I don't owe, and what people owe to me.
Do you think friendship is predicated on owing something to someone else?
Oh no, not to say that. I mean, not like what we owe. Not like in the context of friendship. I mean like what everyone owes to each other as people, like existing in the same in the same place.
There's this delicate balance that both Sam and Siegfried are trying to navigate. How to be present for others without disappearing yourself. How to know when to set boundaries and when to let people in. I started wondering, what does it actually mean to be seen in a friendship? Is it about being known, being needed, or is it something else entirely?
It's Lily's friend project.
Let's talk about Sam for a minute. When we discussed past friendships, Sam told me about a relationship where they were constantly making themselves available to someone who barely responded. There was this quiet resignation in their voice as they described it.
I just like this person was like barely like responding to me or anyone, and I just wanted to hang out with this person again. I mistook that feeling for romantic attraction, and it made things weird when I tried to make something of that.
Yeah,
It happens.
definitely.
High school, like
For sure.
whatever.
When I asked Sam what made a successful friendship, they talked about acceptance in a way that made me wonder how rarely they'd experienced it themselves.
I mean this person is like also neurodivergent to some degree. Like we talk about ourselves and each other in a psychological context a lot. I understand him, he understands me, and like we don't have any. We're not under any sort of illusions about each other. I feel like.
All the chips are on the table.
Yes, and we can enjoy the chips. We can laugh about the chips. That's the thing. It's important to be able, like, it's important in a friendship to like have a fucking sense of humor about something.
Yeah. Siggy shared a similar story about learning to protect himself after a friendship dissolved. He told me about organizing art events with a friend who then turned on him over something seemingly trivial.
When you have these falling outs, I don't think it's usually about the thing that caused it. It's sort of like that's like the straw that breaks the camel's back, right? Like your friend hurts you in some way, but it's like it's actually because I feel disrespected a lot of the time, not because if your friend truly treats you greatly and then one day they do something bad, like you're so much more open to forgiving them, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like
It depends on the thing, right? Like,
yeah,
but yeah.
totally.
Like if a friend,
It's great 98% of the time, and then they're having a bad day.
yeah, they blew off something that I thought was really important. Maybe they didn't realize was really important to me, but like they're my best friend. Like I'm not gonna like hold it against them forever,
What fascinated me about both of their stories was this question of invisible labor in friendships. Sam and Siggy both seemed to be people who did a lot of emotional work, listening, showing up, being reliable. But they were also people who had learned, sometimes painfully, when to step back, when to protect themselves, when to admit that maybe, just maybe, they were giving more than they were getting.
It's Lily's friend project.
There's this concept in psychology called the invisible caretaker, the person in a group who holds everyone else's emotions but whose own feelings often go unacknowledged. As I was editing these interviews, I realized both Sam and Siggy had embodied this role in different ways. Sam, with their background in psychology and innate understanding of human behavior, seems to have a propensity to analyze others.
Am interested in interested in like neurodivergent studies, at the very least out of self-interest.
Right. What is very interesting, because when you get into like what isn't like abnormality versus normality like a huge topic in psychology?
Yes, I mean there are a couple of schools of thought to like what constitutes neurodivergency.
Sam talked about friendship with this curious detachment, like they were both deeply invested in it, but also studying it from the outside. I wondered how much of their own emotional needs they'd set aside in their quest to understand everyone else's. Siggy, on the other hand, seemed less analytical, but just as aware of the emotional dynamics in his relationships. When I asked about his work as a startup founder, he touched on the loneliness that comes with leadership.
I think being a startup founder or starting a business kind of comes with like a lot of isolation, because at first you have the people you started a business with, right? And you're like pretty close, and if you're doing well, like you start to have money to hire people, and so you start hiring people, and that's like first it's like very intimate, and then like quickly, like if things get better, that means they get busier. And so when they get busier, now it's not as like fun. There's more like planning, there's more like concerns, and then like the power dynamic starts to shift a little bit.
This idea of shifting power dynamics in relationships came up again and again. Both Sam and Siggy seemed acutely aware of their position in relation to others. Who needed them, who they could rely on, where they stood in the invisible hierarchy of emotional labor. In a way, they'd both developed similar coping mechanisms. Sam's analytical approach and Siggy's boundaries were both forms of self-protection, ways to be present without being consumed.
I mean, this is a long time ago, but I went to, I don't know, some concert with Coworker once, like a month after I started this job, and I think I was like 25, and he like blacked out, and
Oof.
I don't know, this Uber ride was really embarrassing that I was in. It was like Thursday night or something, and I was just like, oh my god.
You have to chill.
And he had to like stay on my couch that night. I was like, this is like 8 years ago. And I just, after that, I remember thinking like, oh fuck, I don't want to ever hang out with this guy or really talk to him, because I just don't know what happened there. We were just at a show. Like,
Yeah.
and then I continued to work on the same team as him for a whole other year, and I just never wanted to hang out again. I had enough friends at that point. I had other friends, and I was like, I'm good.
That's so great. And you just, every day you see him and you're just like, you are the blackout guy. Yeah.
Because it's different when you're like 20 and it's your roommate in college and you're figuring out alcohol for the first time. When you're like 25 at a concert.
With your like coworker.
Like,
yeah, that you don't know very well. Yeah.
Should have like gotten together at this point.
Yeah, definitely.
And then he said that my friends probably put something in the drinks we were having, and I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, are you crazy?
That's kind of
Nobody
fun.
roofied you, man. Like,
Sam and Siggy both had this evolving relationship with boundaries. There was no obligation to continue the emotional labor of supporting people who'd crossed a line. This ability to say enough seemed hard-won for both of them. Not an instinct, but a skill developed through painful experience. Sam's analytical approach to relationships was both a strength and a defense mechanism, allowing them to understand others deeply while maintaining emotional distance when needed.
I mean, we're still acquaintances. Like, we.
And you said that he said that you're still one of his best friends.
Yes, I don't know how to think about that, which is why I don't think about that, though.
There was something so beautiful about watching Sam and Siggy navigate vulnerability. Both hesitant, both careful, both gradually opening up throughout our conversations. They reminded me that feeling unseen isn't just about people failing to see us. Sometimes it's about the barriers we put up ourselves. the ways we hide behind roles and responsibilities because feeling fully seen feels too risky. Siggy's story revealed how our relationships can shift over time, leaving us simultaneously surrounded by people, yet feeling isolated, especially when roles and dynamics change. This story revealed so much about both Sam and Siggy. Their initial people-pleasing instincts, followed by their growing confidence in setting boundaries. The way invisible power dynamics can operate in friendships until suddenly they become painfully visible, and you're faced with a choice. Continue the pattern or choose yourself. By the end of my conversation with Sam, the harsh columns of sunlight had settled into a warm glow across the room. We talked about everything from astrology, they don't believe it, to karaoke, they're passionate about it, to the complexities of friendship. Well, thank you so much for coming, Sam. I really, really loved getting to know you.
Thank you.
We should go do karaoke sometime soon. I love karaoke.
We should. I do have a few questions. I'm just curious,
go for it.
Information. So the
Well, do you have any
the
questions
Lilly
for me?
Project, is it just
Yeah, like what is your job and why are you doing this?
What's my job? Like, how do I make money?
Or how do you spend your like time, your primary? Like,
Yeah, I have
In both conversations, we'd moved from strangers to something more intimate. Not quite friends yet, perhaps, but people who had seen parts of each other that usually remain hidden. And maybe that's what visibility in friendships really is. Not always being seen, but having spaces where it's safe to be seen. Where you can set down that role of caretaker. Reliable one. Emotional processor. And just be whoever you are in that moment. Messy. Contradictory. Human. This is the Lilly Friend Project. Thank you for listening. The Lilly Friend Project was created and hosted by me, Lily Hogan. It was post-produced, edited, and sound designed by Noreen Mullick. The theme music was created and performed by Bridge Gamble. Special thanks to Sam and Siggy. If you liked this podcast, please head on over to your platform of choice and rate and review us. It really makes a difference. Additionally, we're on TikTok and Instagram, just the show title, so you can just type that into those platforms. And also, I created a secondary questionnaire which I put on the website. Again, lilyfriendproject.com. It's just the show title.com. And there you can fill out the secondary questionnaire, which will automatically spit you out into a Discord community where we'll be doing live events and just generally trying to build community the Lilly Friend Project way. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.